What is going on, Trash Talkers? We are back with another episode for you. Today, we are going to be previewing our first mock draft of the 2021 NFL draft that will be here in April of this year. We cannot wait. We are going to show you everybody that we have on our board. We're going to go pick by pick, everybody from 1 to 32. All that and much more coming your way right now. All right, Nick, we are finally here. Mock draft time. We are post Super Bowl. Congratulations to the Buccaneers, yada, yada. Everybody's talking about them. Let's move forward. We're looking at the 31 teams that didn't win the Super Bowl, and we're going to start trying to build that roster up so they can get to that game, get to where they want to be.
Yes, this is a really exciting draft class. It's on par with last year's draft. I expect there to be a ton of talent that is taken in the first 3 rounds that is going to lead the NFL for many years to come. And, I'm really excited to get into it. So let's just head on over to our first mock draft.
Absolutely. And before we get started, I just want to preface this by saying we didn't make any trades. This is a no trade mock draft. No trade mock draft for those of you who continuously post in our comments and say, well, I don't think he's going to drop that far. Yes, I understand there's no trades. That's not likely to happen in the actual draft. We will do another mock draft with trades. With this one, no mock trades. All right. So, Nick, let's jump over to the screen where we have the draft board and all of the players available, and let's get started. Jacksonville Jaguars, you are on the clock at number 1. All right, so now let's get started. Let's take a look at the draft board that we have going here. And Nick, why don't you get us started with the first pick? The Jacksonville Jaguars, you are now on the clock.
Yeah, so this is obviously an easy one, and obviously the Jacksonville Jaguars are not going to pass up on Trevor Lawrence. They're going to take their guy. There is no question about where he's going.
Yeah, I agree there. And, just to follow up, I think the Jets realized that they missed out on this opportunity. And at number 2, I think the idea with Robert Saleh is to build around Sam Darnold. I know there's been a lot of talk about, what they should be doing as far as should they get after Deshaun Watson? Should they go after Carson Wentz? Maybe Justin Fields or Zach Wilson here. I think it's the opposite. I think before you get anybody else under center, you need to solidify that offensive line. And who better than Penei Sewell at number 2? He is the anchor right tackle that you will have for the next 10 plus years at your on your offensive line, opposite Mekhi Becton, who you drafted last year, who proved that he was a stalwart. I believe that the Jets solidified the bookends here and work around Sam Darnold, try to build around him as much as possible.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the pick as long as they're willing to hold on to Sam Darnold. And, he's getting close to the end of his rookie contract, so hopefully they're making the right choice in keeping him and drafting Penei Sewell to shore up that offensive line. Now that Sewell and Lawrence are off the board, the Miami Dolphins aren't going to be able to fix that offensive lineup anymore, but they're going to be able to get with some weapons, and they're going to do that with the best wide receiver in the draft, and that's Devonta Smith. They're going to draft the Heisman Trophy winner. They're going to put him next to Devontae Parker. These two are just going to be absolute domination for the Miami Dolphins. They did all that defensive work last offseason. It's all about the offense this offseason to get to the right weapon so he can succeed. Devonta Smith is the perfect choice.
Yeah, don't forget Devonta Smith was with Tua Tagovailoa in Alabama, so they have that connection already. Mm-hmm. This is a definite fit for both the Dolphins and Tua. This just solidifies that Tua will be their quarterback moving forward, which I think everybody in the Dolphins organization, Tua himself, and everybody's going to be happy about. And then we move on to number 4. We're looking at the Atlanta Falcons here. And they have a ton of needs, that they've struggled over the last few years, but no bigger need is more pronounced right now than coming up with the replacement, the eventual replacement for Matt Ryan. And at this point, I believe it has to be Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is the perfect person to take over for Matt Ryan. He's got the arm strength and the accuracy, but he also he adds movement and the availability to escape out of the pocket when he needs to. If he can learn how to be patient and go through his reads like Matt Ryan, we're looking at a better version of Josh Allen up in Buffalo. I mean, Zach Wilson has that potential, and with Matt Ryan at the helm, mentoring him and teaching him the way, this is definitely a recipe for success.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Wilson, I really like the pick here, and he is going to be ready to go in a couple of years. He has everything you want in a quarterback, but he still needs to develop, and Matt Ryan is going to teach him everything he needs to know in time. So I really like the pick for the Falcons. You left me in an interesting spot here with the Bengals because Penny Sewell would have been the perfect option to help Joe Burrow. I mean, if Penny Sewell was on this team right now, Joe Burrow might have finished out the year and been named offensive rookie of the year, excuse me. But I think you got to go best on the board, and that's going to be Jamar Chase. I think you got to go get Joe Burrow's favorite target from LSU, and you have to replace AJ Green because let's face it, AJ Green was a shell of himself last season. You're not going to pay him $19 million a year. There's going to be other suitors for him. I mean, you put him, Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins together, that's an absolute dynamite trio right there that are super young, will be with this team for a very long time. It would be very, very hard to stop this offense. They're still going to have to do some work on that offensive line. I really like Jamar Chase here.
Yeah, I like Jamar Chase here too. And when I did my own mock draft heading up this, preparing for this and, trying to figure out where everybody was going, I had Jamar Chase going in the same spot. I believe that, listen, Joe Burrow's obviously the future in Cincinnati, and they're building something big here. They realize that they have a very big talent. Why not get Jamar Chase, who was his favorite target in college, and allow them to grow together with this franchise? I think that it makes too much sense to happen. It has to happen. So that leaves us with the Philadelphia Eagles. And listen, the Eagles struggled to get anybody open last year with the mounting injuries at the wide receiver position. Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson really struggled. They had some really bright spots that started to show up late in the season, but it was all for naught. And I think right here they have to go get the baddest, the fastest wide receiver there is, Jalen Waddle, who, out of Alabama, he early in the season, he looked like he might be better than Devonta Smith. He looked like he was faster, stronger. He was catching the ball away from his body. He was an absolute dynamite on the field. Mac Jones loved throwing to him. And if you take a look at their statistics through the first couple of weeks, Jalen Waddle was outperforming Devonta Smith twofold. So I think that there's a lot of potential here for Jalen Waddle. And obviously he struggled to stay healthy last season. If he can stay healthy and work with Jalen Hurts, who, by the way, worked with him at Alabama, I think this is a good connection that the Eagles are starting to build. Obviously, Carson Wentz, that whole situation will have to be figured out, but it looks like Jalen Hurts will be the quarterback moving forward, and they can double down on that by selecting Jalen Waddle here at number 6.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Jalen Waddle has familiarity with Jalen Hurts from their Alabama days, so it's not like this is a brand new connection for them either, and I really like this selection for the Eagles, definitely going to help out that offense. Now for the Lions, they are in an interesting spot with all these wide receivers gone. That's clearly their biggest weakness, with Kenny Golladay probably leaving in free agency. So I think they need to fix up this defense. I think that there is just, you got to go with the best available at this point, and it's going to be Patrick Surtain. You drafted Jeff Okudah with the number 2 overall pick last season, and he didn't really work out, but I think it's because he just didn't have any help, and you got to get him help on the other side of the field, and Patrick Surtain was one of the best lockdown corners in college football. He's going to help Jeff Okudah turn back to form from his Ohio State days. So I really think these two together could be the next big tandem in the NFL.
Yeah, I like Patrick Surtain here. I think that going defense makes a lot of sense. They have so many needs, and they got younger at the quarterback position by grabbing Jared Goff in the Matthew Stafford trade. They have a lot of future picks, so why not shore up that defense right now? Get that second corner, and then these guys are going to grow together. They're going to work together really well. I like this pick here, and I think that the Detroit Lions will be able to work against some of the division rivals that they have. That Aaron Rodgers has those weapons, Devonte Adams and such. They're going to have to shut those down. So those are a big task that they have. Justin Jefferson in Minnesota. The Detroit Lions, they need to shore up that secondary, and this is a big step in doing just that. All right, at number 8, we have the Carolina Panthers. Now, I've gone a couple different ways with this one, and I think at this point in time, the biggest thing that they need is a tight end for Teddy Bridgewater to have that security blanket. Kyle Pitts is no joke. I call him Darren Waller 2.0. He is fast, he's explosive, he can catch the ball away from his body. He looks like a receiver that can also become an inline blocker. I mean, he is just that good. I believe that he's not going to make it out of the top 10. And for Teddy Bridgewater to succeed in Carolina, they need to get him some more weapons. They used to have a guy by the name of Greg Olsen who was their security blanket for a long time. Kyle Pitts is a much better tight end than Greg Olsen was. And, Carolina Panthers fans, I know you're starting to have a little palpitations with that sentiment, but the fact remains that Kyle Pitts is a special, special talent at the tight end position. And we're looking at one of the great tight ends that is going to be coming out of the draft. Kyle Pitts will be that guy for the Panthers moving forward.
Yeah, I'm not very sold on Kyle Pitts. I honestly think he's Noah Fant, and I think that's his ceiling. I don't think he's going to be the next Darren Waller of the NFL. But you know what? You never know. And I think that Kyle Pitts will fit well in Carolina in Matt Rule's system with Joe Brady. I think that Teddy, like you said, Teddy Bridgewater needs another weapon, especially a tight end, and this is the perfect option. So I'm fine with the Panthers picking him here. The Denver Broncos, they have a whole list of needs. It looks like that offensive line was getting better. The quarterback position, Drew Lock, we don't know if they're still trying to work through him or if they're completely going to throw him to the side and look for a new option. But I think one thing's for certain, that secondary was pretty bad. It was rough, and they need to fix it. And I think Caleb Farley does the trick right here. I think Caleb Farley is the perfect replacement for Chris Harris, a guy they truly missed last season. AJ Bouye has already been released, so you definitely need to fix and fill this hole right here.
Yeah, no, I agree. Caleb Farley's an incredible talent coming out of Virginia Tech, and he saw a lot of big name wide receivers that will be coming out of the coming through the NFL draft, and he has been tried and tested, and he passed with flying colors, and I think that Caleb Farley can help lock down the secondary. Reminds me a lot of some of the old days when they had Chris Harris Jr. and Aqib Talib and some of these guys. He's going to fit that culture right away, and he's going to work with Von Miller to get this defense right back to its a previous form. So I like the pick here at number 9. At number 10, we have the Dallas Cowboys, and they struggled a lot protecting the quarterback last year. It's no secret. Dak Prescott, got hurt, and there was a lot of misfortune that happened there. But the fact remains that they lost Travis Frederick for a while, and they've lost a lot of different pieces moving back and forth, and it's time to start getting a little younger on that offensive line. And I believe that Rashawn Slater, the tackle here, needs to be selected by the Cowboys. They need to find a replacement for Tyron Smith, who is not getting any younger. They need to start grooming him. And you know what? They don't need as much help as most people think because they have the pass rush, they have the secondary that can get it done. The biggest issue for them last year, Dak Prescott was injured. And as long as Jerry can actually figure out a way to re-sign Dak Prescott, get him back on this roster, they shouldn't be anywhere near the top 15 selections next year. They should easily be able to roll through the NFC East. And I believe that protecting Dak Prescott has to be of the biggest concern for Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys moving forward.
Yeah, I think you're right. They have to fix this, and hopefully by this point we'll know what's going on with Dak Prescott. Honestly, if Dak Prescott is signed to another team and they are out of options. Justin Fields still on the board here, so I would expect that. But
Yeah.
assuming Dak Prescott's back with back with the Cowboys, I think Rashawn Slater's got to be a number one priority. You hear Russell Wilson talk about get me O-line help. Well, Dak Prescott is going to need some as well if he's going to succeed like they want him to. So I like the pick here. The Giants, they truly need some offensive weapons, but they're all gone. All the top ones are gone. You're not going to reach here for a wide receiver. I mean, you've got some weapons still with Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram still turning into he just made the Pro Bowl this season. He's getting better, so I think they're going to try to work through that, and you're going to fix this defense. I mean, that defense was the best Giants defense I've seen since they were in the Super Bowl in 2011. I think they are a couple pieces away, and it all starts at the linebacker position, and they're going to draft Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is the best inside linebacker in the draft, and he is going to help solidify this defense as one of the best in the NFC. They are going to be up there with the Washington football team as extremely tough, very hard to compete against, and I think that this is exactly what the rest of the team needs if they're going to succeed.
Yeah, Micah Parsons can play outside, inside. He's pass coverage, man coverage, zone coverage, and pass rush. He literally does it all at the linebacker position. I liken him to a Dante Hightower in New England. I think he's that special. I think his pass rushing ability is much higher, and his coverage needs a little more work. But that's the same type of player where he's interchangeable throughout the entire defense. Micah Parsons makes a lot of sense for the Giants, and obviously retaining Leonard Williams is a huge piece here in keeping that D line intact. But the Giants and Joe Judge, they're building something special in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and it's going to be one piece at a time. Let's focus on the here and now. Like you said, it would be nice to get another weapon for Daniel Jones and company, but don't forget the new weapon that they're getting happens to be somebody that's already on the roster, Saquon Barkley. He's been hurt for the last 2 years. Let's get him healthy. Let's get him right, and then we can add him to this offense. We haven't truly seen the explosion that he can be with Daniel Jones and these weapons that they've been cultivating for the last couple of years. All right, so then let's move over to the number 12 and look at the San Francisco 49ers. I think that they need to shore up the back end of their defense as well. And Richard Sherman's not getting any younger. Who knows if he's going to be back there in free agency? We got to figure out, who's going to be playing corner. Jason Verrett was a nice surprise for them, but if you're talking about anybody being counted on to not get injured, can't be Jason Verrett. So I think we have to take a look here, and we have to look at the best corner available. And I'm looking at J.C. Horn out of South Carolina. I think he is the optimal pick here. It's a bit of a reach for him at number 12, but he does have the same type of build coming out of South Carolina that Stephon Gilmore had. He looked a lot of the same way. He plays a lot of press man. He did a really well in zone coverage defense, and he didn't get beaten over the top. The numbers speak for themselves. I think J.C. Horn is one of those guys that's going to be a nice surprise, and to figure out what's going to happen with that defense as Robert Salah made his way to the New York Jets. We have to figure out, everybody that's going to be replaced there in San Francisco. I think Raheem Morris is going to take his shot here and say, you know what, we need to get another corner in here. We need to start grooming for the future, and J.C. Horn is going to be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit surprised that you go J.C. Horn. I think that he is overvalued here. I really like him as a player, and I think he's going to do really well in the NFL, but this is a reach, and I think it looks like they really don't like Jimmy Garoppolo, and they want to move on from him. I would have gone Justin Fields here if this were me, but hey, you know what? There's going to be better suitors as we go down the list for Justin Fields. At number 13, the Chargers, they've got to get Herbert some help, and it all starts with Samuel Cosmi. I think that you've got to shore up this offensive line. You saw what happened to Joe Burrow. You see what's happening with Sam Darnold. I mean, once the Jets got Mekhi Becton, that left side was completely shored up, and now they don't have to worry about that for a very long time. Now the Chargers can do the same with Samuel Cosmi, and that left side will be solidified for the Chargers moving forward. This team is very close to competing in the AFC, and giving the Chiefs a run for their money in that division, I think Sam Cosmi is going to go a long way here.
Yeah, I like Cosme. I think, we saw what Herbert can do, and he came in guns blazing from the moment he was told that he's starting a game after the actual starter was pronounced hurt right before the start of the game. So he was thrust into it, and obviously he ran for his life a little bit in Los Angeles. And Sam Cosme, what he's done at the University of Texas, and just being a big body. These guys that come out of Texas and Oklahoma, these guys who play offensive line, they end up doing really well in the NFL. They are just bred to be NFL linemen, and I think Sam Cosme will be a focal point for this offensive line moving forward. At number 14, we have the Minnesota Vikings. Now, the Minnesota Vikings have a myriad of different things that they need to get done, because they got rid of all their corners before last year, and they got rid of all of their defensive line last year. So where do we go now? What do we try to build? And do we protect Kirk Cousins and this offense? Do we start blocking? What are we doing here? Well, looking at this board and seeing who's available, I think we have to go with Kwity Paye out of Michigan. I think Kwity Paye is going to be the rebuilding piece for this defense that we need here. He is a special type of pass rusher coming off the edge out of Michigan. He has been able to garner pressure as much as anybody else in this draft. And I believe that as a hand in the ground type player coming out of Michigan, this guy has proved that he has what it takes to put pressure on some of the best offensive lines that we have seen in college football. I think that'll translate to the pros, and I think he'll be able to get pressure on the likes of Aaron Rodgers and Jared Goff and whoever is under center for the Chicago Bears moving forward.
Yeah, I really like this pick here. I think that you saw Yannick Ngakoue didn't work out. Daniil Hunter got hurt, so you're going to need another young guy on the opposite end to help him out when he's out there. So I really like this. The offense was fine last season for the Vikings, so I don't think you really need to worry too much about that side. You got to fix up this defense if they're going to get anywhere close to competing with the Packers in this division. So I really like Kwity Paye here. At number 15, I can't believe my eyes. I can't believe this guy is still on the board. Justin Fields. How did he fall halfway down the board to number 15? It's the obvious pick here for the Patriots. You need a quarterback. You're going to get arguably the second best quarterback in this draft. And this is an absolute no-brainer. Best on the board. Best option for you besides Trevor Lawrence. So Patriots get an absolute steal here at 15.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Fields, listen, I had this in my previous mock draft that I did, and, some people called me crazy, but the idea here is that, you said you would have had him going at number 12 to the San Francisco 49ers. I'm not sold on the fact that they don't believe in Jimmy Garoppolo. I believe that they have the guy that they wanted outside of Kirk Cousins. And as we talked about that in a previous video, I believe that they're going to try to make it work with Jimmy G. I think they're going to try to build up that defense and get him some more weapons moving forward. But I think Justin Fields ends up falling here. And some of these quarterbacks, you know what? Maybe teams trade up. As we said before, we're not going to talk about trades in this one specifically, but Justin Fields falling to the Patriots it'd be very interesting if that happens. I believe that a team would definitely try to swoop in, but at number 15, that is more value than you could ever ask for in the NFL draft. That is for sure. At number 16, I'm looking at some of the needs that we have here. And one of the biggest things that the Cardinals struggled with last year was running the ball, but also protecting Kyler Murray. And with Christian Darrisaw on this board, I think they have to look at protecting him. So we have to take a look at Christian Darrisaw as one of those tackles that is going to be there moving forward. He is going to protect either the blind side or the right side, depending on how they shuffle around their offense. But either way, he is a big body that can protect mobile quarterbacks. He understands this. And with Cliff Kingsbury coming from the college ranks and his ability to work with these younger players, I think Christian Darrisaw is going to be in the perfect scenario to be able to help this offense and protect Kyler Murray. And this, the Cardinals will be able to be a threat in the NFC West moving forward.
Yeah, I like Christian Darrisaw here. like you said, that offensive line was pretty bad last season for him, and Kyler Murray is going to need some time in the pocket if he's going to succeed and get even better with DeAndre Hopkins, and also help out Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds. So I think that this is a great option here for the Cardinals. Now, at 17, the Las Vegas Raiders have some issues they've got to work through. And I'm intrigued by Trey Lance on the board because Derek Carr isn't the best option for the Las Vegas Raiders. And I think him and John Gruden are still butting heads, even though they say they're smoothing things over. Except I'm not going to go quarterback here. I think they're going to try to move him at some point, and they're going to keep on working on this defense. Cleveland Farrell's been drafted over the years, and you got Max Crosby a couple of years ago. You're going to try to fix up this linebacking situation, and they're going to draft Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. And I think that he is the second best linebacker behind Micah Parsons, and he's really going to help out this defense. This team will definitely take a step forward next season and compete with the Chargers and Chiefs. So I think that Owusu-Koramoah is going to be a big part of that.
Yeah, he's a big body coming out of Notre Dame, and he's a really good run stopping linebacker. He struggled a little bit in pass coverage, but I believe with the enough coaching, and if he was able to slim down just a little bit, that'll come with time. And I believe that he'll be able to be the bedrock of this defense moving forward. You know, they've tried out some guys there with Corey Littleton and some of the guys that they've brought in, and I think they need one guy that is a stagnant green dot on the helmet type of middle linebacker that can, shuffle everybody around. He's proven that he's a good leader on the defense. He can work with the coaching staff, and he basically is the voice of the coaching staff on the field. So I like this pick here. I think John Gruden gets a really good pick. At number 18, we have the Miami Dolphins once again on the board. And listen, there's a lot of different scenarios in which we could go, but we've already gotten the wide receiver handled with Devonta Smith going there. We have to take a look at what are the other needs that we have moving forward, and it might be a surprise to some, but this rushing attack was pretty porous, and I think a guy like Najee Harris can definitely prove that he is the guy that can help lead this team. And I think, you take a look at a guy like Derrick Henry. Najee Harris has the same type of build. He's not as big, but he's pretty big in and of his own right, and he has the speed to run away from defenders. So I think him hitting the hole with Tua and Devonta Smith, you're recreating some of this Alabama magic here. And I think that with everything that they have going for them, this is the offense that they need to compete, because what they're building in Miami is nothing short of spectacular. Let's get Tua the weapons that he wants, and I think moving forward, this is exactly what we'll be able to have.
I always think that anybody who drafts running backs in the first round is somewhat crazy because these guys just don't last that long. They aren't as durable as you would like, and they get injured often, as we see with Saquon. I think that Najee Harris, he's built, he's strong, he can catch really well, but you know what? Running backs don't usually pay off this well, and I think this is a little bit of a reach for the Dolphins. But that only helps the next team, the Washington football team, who is in the quarterback market, and they get a perfect stud that falls to them. Trey Lance. This guy has amazing abilities to run with the ball, run out of the pocket, and hit his targets. It's going to be great with Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson out of the backfield, and J.D. McKissick still there. I think that this team is heading in the right direction. Trey Lance is going to be at the focal point of the offense, heading it all up.
Yeah, I like Trey Lance here. Listen, they tried it with Dwayne Haskins, and that this is somewhat the same type of player, a mobile quarterback that can throw in the run, and He's got a lot more to prove. Well, he's coming from South Dakota State, where
North Dakota
or
State.
he's coming from North Dakota State, which is where Carson Wentz came from. And the hype around this guy is that he's a better Carson Wentz. He can throw on the run. He's bigger, stronger, and more durable. I believe that this is a perfect fit. They now have their quarterback moving forward. I believe Ron Rivera will be able to work with him just like he did with Cam Newton down in Carolina. Now, I'm going to take sort of the same approach here and look at number 20. And I talked about the Chicago Bears a little bit earlier and seeing who their quarterback would be. Well, some people call that foreshadowing because here I have Mac Jones being selected by the Chicago Bears. They need a quarterback desperately. Nick Foles ain't it. Mitch Trubisky ain't it. Mac Jones has what it takes. And I believe that the Bears need to answer this question once and for all. It doesn't look like Deshaun Watson's getting moved. Russell Wilson is a very long shot at possibly getting moved. There's not really anybody else that they're willing to make a trade for. So let's go get Mac Jones. This guy can throw any ball all over the field. He does struggle a little bit in his mobility, but overall, he can navigate the pocket as good as anybody else coming out of the draft. And he has a sense for pressure where he gets the ball out quickly and precisely. He doesn't take penalties. He doesn't take sacks. He is very precise with his read progression. When I look at the mental aspect of the quarterback, I look at Mac Jones and say that's the guy that is going to succeed in this league because he already knows and understands the position of the quarterback at a fundamental level. I think Mac Jones would be the perfect fit for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, it's an interesting option. I think that this is probably the right pick because you're going to want to improve upon Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles. So, yeah, it's tough because you just saw Trey Lance go the pick before, and that would have been the perfect option for you. But Mac Jones, he's got a great arm. He knows how to read the fields. I just don't like how immobile he is. So it'd be nice to see if he could show us something that makes him a dual threat quarterback so he can work in today's NFL. But nonetheless, Mac Jones taken at 20. At 21, we have the Indianapolis Colts, who are just a couple pieces away from putting it all together. And I think that their main focus is to replace Anthony Costanzo. I think this is a huge need for them, and they're going to fill that with Jalen Mayfield, the tackle out of Michigan. They need a guy who's going to help solidify that offensive line. They want to continue to make that a top 5 offensive line in the league, and it's going to be huge for whatever quarterback is heading up this offense because they need some protection, especially in their blind side. So I think Jalen Mayfield's going to do the job here.
Yeah, I like Jalen Mayfield, but I'm a little surprised you took him over Tevin Jenkins. Tevin Jenkins' body type is a lot bigger, a lot stronger, and a lot more mobile. I believe, I might be splitting hairs here, but Tevin Jenkins is the guy that I definitely would have gone with. Overall, we're on the same page. Offensive tackle is a huge need. You got to replace Costanzo. This was a top 5 offensive line, and they need to be able to bring that back for whoever ends up being the quarterback for this team moving forward, whether it's Carson Wentz or Andrew Luck or somebody else. But let's move on to number 22. We're looking at the Tennessee Titans, and what was the biggest issue for this team last year? It was edge pressure.
Yeah.
Edge pressure. They tried it. They got Vic Beasley from Atlanta. They got Jadeveon Clowney. Didn't work. All right. So now we got to answer the edge pressure issue. We got Joseph Asai right out of Texas, and he's right there. I'm not going to take him. I'm going to take Greg Rousseau. Greg Rousseau out of Miami is one of the biggest, baddest guys. I can't believe he actually fell this far because some have him projected as a top 10, top 8 pick. However, Greg Rousseau coming off the edge looks a lot to me like Myles Garrett. I believe he looks just like, the same body frame. He's very strong upper body. He's got a lot of length to him. He keeps his hands ahead of him. He gets to the chest of the offensive line, so he keeps them at bay. He can hold the edge, so he is productive in the run game as well. I think Greg Rousseau is the perfect fit for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I like Greg Rousseau here, and I think he's going to replace Jarrell Casey quite nicely because Greg Rousseau, he's listed as edge, but he's a defensive tackle slash D end. He's a little small for D tackle, but this guy is like Aaron Donald. He's got crazy strength, and he can really push the middle of the offensive line. So I think that he is a very versatile weapon for Mike Vrabel in this defense, and a guy that can really succeed here under his tutelage. So I really like Greg Rousseau here, and I think this is one of the best spots for him to succeed. He really only played 1 year in college, but he was truly dominant in Miami that 1 year. So I think that Greg Rousseau is going to thrive here in Tennessee. Back at 23 is the New York Jets, and you got an offensive lineman. Why not get a running back to go along with that? Sam Darnold's going to need some weapons, and I think Travis Etienne here, he could be the next Alvin Kamara. He can catch really well. He has great balance. He can juke around pretty much anybody. So I think that he can fit well with this team. And I think that this offense is going to be a much more productive and much more lively offense than they have been in the past now that the offensive line's better and you have a solid running back in Travis Etienne.
I like Travis Etienne here. I think that the Jets need a guy that can be explosive and versatile at the same time. And, they haven't really had that since LT was on the roster. And, obviously at the end of his career, he was lacking a little bit of that explosiveness. I think Travis Etienne will be the perfect complement for what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball when you have Sam Darnold throwing to the likes of Jamison Crowder and Denzel Mims and some of these guys at wide receiver. I think Travis Etienne is more of a finesse back who can run out and catch passes and also run in between the tackles. He's kind of slippery in that manner, but I like the pick here for the Jets. At number 24, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, and there's a lot of holes moving forward with this team. They just lost Marquise Pouncey. They have an aging offensive line. They have to protect Big Ben because their championship window is closing. They have 1 maybe 2 years left in this championship window. Some think they have to replace Juju Smith-Schuster and figure that all out. I have to go offensive line here. I think it's that important. And I'm taking a look at some of these guys that are on the board, and I think we have to go with Elijah Vera Tucker, the interior offensive lineman here next to David DeCastro. I think we need to be able to make him a focal point for this offense, and he needs to be able to protect for Big Ben, but also needs to help open up holes for this running game. We saw that James Conner and Benny Snell and some of these other running backs, they struggled last year. They struggled to find any sort of hole whatsoever. And it hurt this team because they became one dimensional. Big Ben was throwing the ball 50 times a game, and he wasn't being protected at the same time. We need to fix that. And I think Elijah Vera Tucker here is the perfect fit for the Steelers moving forward.
I really like Elijah Vera Tucker here. I think he's going to help the interior of this line very well, and he is going to really help them fill the hole of Marquise Pouncey right away. So I really like this pick here. Interior offensive lineman, usually how they play in college is how they play in the pros, so you know that you're getting a stud right out of the draft. So I really like him here. Back at 25 again is the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they already have Trevor Lawrence. They got their guy. The problem I'm having is they have already a ton of wide receivers that I don't think they really need to get Trevor Lawrence another weapon. I kind of believe in this offensive line, but I think that they want to be for sure about it. You're not going to want to risk Trevor Lawrence getting injured. He's just about to have surgery on his non-throwing shoulder, and I think they want to make sure that's the last surgery he has for a very long time. And they're going to go get Tevin Jenkins here. They want to make sure that this line is fully shored up, and they want James Robinson to run just as well, if not better, than he did this past year. They want to make sure this offense has no issues right out of the gate, and they can perform at their highest level.
Tevin Jenkins is a really good run blocker, and he's really got a solid base in pass protection. So I think that this is an all around good pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They They protect the franchise guy that they selected at number one. And we saw what James Robinson did with that offensive line last year. Well, now we're going to add Tevin Jenkins to it. And now we can really see what he can do because he's not going to be the focal point of defenses to stop. So it'll be interesting to say the least. I'm really excited about Tevin Jenkins on the Jacksonville Jaguars and protecting their franchise quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. At 26, we have the Cleveland Browns, fresh off of their first playoff appearance in God knows how long. They are finally back. And you know what? I think this is a good spot for them. They are on the board. They need some edge help. They have Myles Garrett, and I still think they need to figure this out. On the backside, I think that they need some linebacking help as well. Let's take a look here. I think we need to shore it up with Zavin Collins out of Tulsa. He is a good, very good coverage linebacker. He is going to provide a lot of depth for them in the second part of that defense. He can rush the passer really well, and he's a really good leader. And one of those guys that I talked about with Owusu Koromoa. He's going to have the green dot on the back of his helmet. He is going to be the relay guy from the coaching staff to the defense on the field. I think that he will be one of the main pieces that they build around this defense moving forward. He is a huge part in stopping the run as well as pass coverage. I like Zavin Collins here at 26.
I love Zavin Collins here also, and I think that he's very similar to another guy the Browns had a few years ago with the last name Collins, Jamie Collins. I think that these two are very similar to each other, extremely athletic, and I think that you can put him anywhere on the interior or outside. He can rush, he can pass coverage, he can do it all. And I think that this is a perfect fit for a team that only needs to fill a couple holes, and linebacker being the biggest one. So I think Zavin Collins is the perfect option for them here. At number 27, the Baltimore Ravens, they're very upset that Elijah Vera Tucker is off the board, and they need to fix up this offensive line. But looking at who's available, there's just no one as far as that goes. And you're not going to overreach for one of these interior offensive linemen. What you want to do is go get Lamar Jackson some weapons, and they're going to do that with Rashad Bateman. I think Rashad Bateman is going to be a big weapon for the Baltimore Ravens. Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews can only do so much. Now that Rashad Bateman's on the team, you can expand the passing plays that Lamar Jackson has available, and he's a big body that'll be really good for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, Rashad Bateman's a large body, the antithesis of what we're looking at with Marquise Brown. I think that they will complement each other very, very well. And Mark Andrews in the middle of that field, we already know what type of security blanket he is for Lamar Jackson in this offense. And you're right that the interior of this offense is going to struggle. We have to see what's going to happen with Orlando Brown. He has already requested a trade. They may have to replace him with Alex Leatherwood or one of these tackles, Liam Eichenberg out of Notre Dame. I think that there's a lot of potential here for a swing here, but overall, Rashad Bateman makes a lot of sense at this very time. I think that the Baltimore Ravens are in a very tough scenario moving forward. They have to figure this out because Rashad Bateman may be the least of their problems if Orlando Brown is actually moved. All right. Well, with number 28, we're looking at the New Orleans Saints, and it's tough because the New Orleans Saints are in a lot of cap trouble, so they can't really sign a whole lot of people, on top of the fact that franchise quarterback Drew Brees has announced his retirement. He is out of the NFL. He is officially done with the sport. So it seems like, Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston is going to have to be the guy moving forward. Well, we got to shore up some of this defense, and we're taking a look at some of these guys here. I think that overall we have to take a look at Jalen Phillips here. Jalen Phillips out of Miami is going to be a huge pass rusher. I don't necessarily believe that we're going to have Cameron Jordan on this roster next year. I think that he's going to have to be moved, whether it's through release or trade or some other form. I believe that they need to rebuild this defense, and Cameron Jordan's cap hit is going to be a huge issue for them. I think that they're going to have to do something with him. So Jalen Phillips will replace him on the edge. He's going to have to put on some weight. He's a little slim for the edge in the NFL, but he can put on some weight over the next few years, and we'll see what we get out of him. But for a back end edge rusher, I believe that they're getting a really productive talent here.
I like Jalen Phillips here, and more so, I like you picking an edge player. I personally would have probably gone with Joseph Asai just because I think he's a more developed, more well-rounded edge rusher. But again, edge help is what they need, and Jalen Phillips is going to fill the role here. Really like that. The Green Bay Packers at 29, they're so close to making it to the Super Bowl, and they're only a couple pieces away. And I think if they do not get this man, Aaron Rodgers, a 3-time NFL MVP, a wide receiver that I think Aaron Rodgers is just going to request a trade, and we'll be talking all about him. But they're going to get him a weapon, and they're going to get him a big weapon. Terrace Marshall Jr., this man is 6'3", massive body from LSU. He was huge, and I think that he is going to be a great option offsetting Davante Adams. It's going to be very hard to stop him with everybody focused on Davante Adams and Aaron Jones. I think that this is going to be the piece that puts them over the top and could make them the biggest team in the NFC moving forward.
Yeah, I like Terrace Marshall here. They need to get this man a weapon if they want any chance at retaining him. And, they made the mistake last year of drafting his replacement and not getting him a weapon. They got so close to the Super Bowl, and who knows, maybe if they had drafted a top receiver in this draft, they could have been able to do something with it. But you know what? Only time will tell. And Terrace Marshall will be that guy for them. He will be their number 2. And then you have Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Alan Lazard as your 3 and 4. I mean, that is a really good wide receiving core. They are one big piece away in this wide receiving core to really put the pressure on the rest of the NFC here. I like him in Green Bay. At number 30, we have a team that was also very close to the Super Bowl, the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Buffalo Bills are very young. They're very talented. They are under the head coaching prowess of Sean McDermott. And if there's anything I know about Sean McDermott, it's he is going to get this defense right. But I don't think they're going to go defense here. I think they're going offensive tackle. You got to protect Josh Allen. Liam Eichenberg is the guy, one of the most underrated yet physically demanding tackles we have in this draft. Liam Eichenberg out of Notre Dame was one of the best draft prospects before the season started. And obviously, with everything that went on with COVID and everything, we didn't get to see much of him. And there was a lot of, he started to fall on draft boards. This is the guy that is going to end up being the steal of the draft. Mark my words. Liam Eichenberg will end up being one of the, if not the best offensive tackles in this draft because of his ability to play every spot on the offensive line except for center, and his innate ability to understand pass rushing schemes. He can work with everyone along this offensive line and make sure that Josh Allen stays upright every single snap that he is around.
Liam Eichenberg's a great pick here, and like you said, Josh Allen's got to stay healthy. I mean, this man has made leaps and bounds improvements from where he was year one, and he's going to continue to make improvements as long as he's standing upright, and Liam Eichenberg's definitely going to get the job done. And I'm really glad you passed up on linebacker because at number 31, the Kansas City Chiefs need to fix this linebacking core, and it starts with Nick Bolton. I think Nick Bolton would have been a massive piece for them in the Super Bowl this past year, and he's going to help them moving forward. He's going to be a big reason why this defense improves and the Kansas City Chiefs make it back to another Super Bowl. Nick Bolton is another one of those versatile linebackers who can play inside, outside. He can rush the passer, play coverage. He can do it all, and I think that Steve Spagnuolo is going to be able to coach him up, and he's going to work well with the rest of this defense.
Yeah, I like Nick Bolton here, and the Chiefs have struggled at the linebacker position for quite some time. I think that this is the guy that they have needed for a while. They need somebody who's going to rack up the tackles. They need a 100-plus tackler on this roster, and to help this defense get going, I think that Nick Bolton will be the best choice for them at 31. Now, we move over to the Super Bowl champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 32. Fresh off their Super Bowl win, we're looking at the Tom Brady led Buccaneers offense. We're saying, okay, wide receiver really isn't going to be of a big value to them. They still have Mike Evans. They still have Antonio Brown, who said he wants to come back. They have a lot of these young guys that they were able to bring on. We're taking a look at the running back position, and they have that pretty much set. I'm going to take a look, and this is not necessarily a pick of need, but it's a pick of because he's still on the board. Joseph Asai out of Texas being the edge help that they need on this defense. Listen, if you're telling me that overall Joseph Asai is there to, be another pass rusher that will provide depth and really be able to help them moving forward, I'm all in because we're talking about the Super Bowl champions. I don't think that there's a big area of need that they have here. I think they have to get something of depth. JPP is not getting any younger, and I think if you can start rotating him out with a younger guy, get him some reps, and then at the end of JPP's contract, you can let him walk, and now you have Joseph Asai out of Texas, who is a really good edge pass rusher. I think that you're building yourself up for the future to continue to contend moving forward.
I really like Joseph Asai here, and you say he might not be a position of need. Well, I really don't think they're signing Shaq Barrett back. I think that he's too expensive. They have other people they need to pay, like you said, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski. So I think that they are going to look for the draft, and this is a match made in heaven with him and JPP on ends with Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh. This Bucks team looks like it could be headed back to another Super Bowl.
Well, that's going to do it for now, and thank you all for watching. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all for now. Peace and love.